Yo, welcome to one of my favorite and more popular topics on my channel, Red Dead Redemption theories, but this time, mainly mysteries. And today, we're not diving into just one of them, but 5 of my favorite mysteries and theories surrounding them. Let's get into it, with the first one being Emerald Ranch. From a distance, Emerald Ranch just looks like any other normal farming settlement. But as you get closer, it becomes clear that that is not the case. Because as you try to speak to some of the residents, you quickly notice how distant or even mean most of them act. Especially the owner, who doesn't appear to have a name at first glance. When you approach the main farmhouse that he lives in, he quickly becomes hostile. You could just assume that he doesn't want anyone on his land, but I think most of us believe it goes a little deeper than just that. Before we get into the mystery, let's take a look at Emerald Ranch's layout. There are 3 main buildings you need to remember that are crucial to the mystery of Emerald Ranch. The farmhouse that the owner is very protective over. The barn, quite close to that the character that you meet in the story mode, Simus, runs a fence at. And an abandoned saloon that when entering you find bullet holes, blood, and some photos. This is very important later. Now as night falls over the settlement of Emerald Ranch, sometimes you will find a woman in the top floor of the farmhouse looking down with tears running down her face, and after a bit of time she does end up turning around and running away. As you approach the house, you notice that the doors are either blocked or just locked, and the windows all have curtains around them, at least on the bottom floor. But sometimes you will hear arguing coming from inside the house. Though I don't think anybody can truly make out what they are talking about, it is pretty important in my head. So that's all the information that we have on the farmhouse, so let's go over to the saloon. As I said before, when you enter the saloon, you find blood on the ground and 3 bullet holes in the wall. It used to be a saloon. It looks like it's been closed down for a while. How dusty and humid it is in there. When you exit the back and you go to the right, you will find a gravestone that states Joshua Burgess, accidentally shot August 1898. So seeing the blood and the gunshots and then Joshua Burgess' gravestone right outside, it implies that Joshua Burgess was shot and killed inside the saloon. The accidental gunshot seems to be a lie considering there are 3 bullet holes in the wall. Now during the story mode, when you had to rob Simus's cousins or twice removed, whatever it was, Hosea claims that the owner is nasty and the people that live there fear him. He also claims that Simus had the sweets for the owner's daughter. From the story mode, that is pretty much all you get that talks about Emerald Ranch, though you will run into a few random encounters that bring up more about it. The woman you can find that horses died on the side of the road. If you decide to give her a ride, she will go on about her personal life until she gets into some crucial details that she found out about Emerald Ranch. She claims Emerald Ranch is a weird place, and that the owner is a mean bastard. Strange too, tells us about the daughter never leaving the house. When she asked about it, everyone told her to leave it alone. She found the same saloon we talked about earlier. There is a wagon a little closer to Valentine, I believe, than it is Emerald Ranch, though when you go up to it, it is a mailing wagon. You got letters and everything, but there is one specific letter that we want to look at. The letter is from a woman named Annabelle. She states that a woman she writes to, Lily Millet, said she hasn't seen Maram leave the house in months. So Maram must be the woman in the window. Annabelle states, I cannot even imagine how painful it must have been for you to lose Joshua in such a horrible way. Joshua being the one on the gravestone who most likely got killed in the saloon. She goes on to claim that she has sent 6 letters and has gotten no response. She assumes that the father, Eugene, has been withholding them from her. And she also assumes that Eugene is locking her in the house. Now that we have some of that information, it does gather some of the IDs of these people. One being Eugene is the owner of the farmhouse at Emerald Ranch. The daughter, Maram, is upstairs, the one that we have seen looking down from the window. What we do not know is if she's up there in her own free will or because he is not wanting her to either tell the police or get in more relationships with farmhands. All of these are theories, but any of them could be correct. One interesting detail I would like to add to this mystery that I don't hear too many people talk about, but I would like to add it in my own input, is the encounter where you find a man looking for a dog. If you go up to help him, at least for me, I found the dog hiding under the crawl space at the saloon. Now, this could just be a coincidence, and when you take the dog back, it runs away because its owner's abusive, but what I think happened is a pretty sad counterpart to that story. I think Joshua Burgess decided to go get a drink inside the saloon, took his dog, the dog's waiting outside for him, but Joshua never exited the saloon. And after they killed the man and put him in the ground, the dog is still wanting to wait there for his rightful owner to come out, but it's never happened. And it never will happen. So that dog will probably never know the true outcome or demise of Joshua Burgess. Though this is just my theory, and I don't really know if that's true or not, but I think it would be pretty weird if they had this random encounter happen like that, if that wasn't having something to do with it. Though I could be wrong, and I heard some other people on Reddit claiming that the dog has been found at other locations near a water tower and a whole bunch of other places, though I have never had any but the saloon crawl space. But nevertheless, let me get into some of the fan theories. Now that we have all the information that we can find so far laid out on the table, we're going to first go over the most popular theory, that Maram, the one in the window, had a relationship with Joshua Burgess, and the father, Eugene, found out about this and had Joshua killed inside a saloon, and then made a cover-up story to say accidentally shot, and now is locking Maram away inside the house to make sure she does not do anything like that again. Now that's the most popular. Let me get into one that people believed very on, but I don't even know if there are many believing it still. That the woman on the missing poster in Van Horn the Princess, people think that because of the similar appearance, that this could be her and she got kidnapped or something, or Messiah type deal, but I don't believe that's the case. First off, because of how far she is away from Van Horn, and that would mean the whole Maram thing is just a coincidence and the letter leads to somewhere else. Now, one of the theories I stumbled across recently on Reddit that I actually quite like, Simus, the owner of the fence, the one that we were talking about earlier, Hosea does mention that Simus was sweet on the owner's daughter. But that's really the most that we have to back this up, though it would make sense if Simus was jealous and went to Joshua Burgess because he found out that Joshua and Maram had a relationship and killed the man, and then the owner of the farmhouse, Eugene, locked her away from all the men. And it is possible, though there's more information backing up the other one. Oh, and a theory I thought of, and I don't know if I actually thought of it myself or I just seen it somewhere and I've forgotten, but something that crossed my mind is with the ghost-like image of her in the window and the creepy aesthetic and everything, I've thought maybe she passed away a long time ago, either killed by Eugene, he's trying to hide it, or killed herself, and she is now haunting the area of Emerald Ranch, looking down from the window on all the people that done her wrong and covered up the story of Joshua's death. Though I do not believe this to be the case, I think it is a very interesting theory that could be the case, considering with how much Rockstar likes to put ghosts in their game. Anyhow, this is all the theories that I have that are the biggest ones, at least, the ones that aren't just navigating around and making little adjustments. Now let's get into the next one. Let's get into probably the most mysterious of all of these mysteries, but also probably the most popular because it's so hard to solve. Let's get into it with the Strange Man mystery. The Strange Man is an anonymous character that we see across both Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2. Dressed in mostly all black with a mustache, you get most of your information from the events that occur in cutscenes in the first Red Dead Redemption. He first appears in a side mission called I Know You. He starts off by calling John by his first name, though John does not recall ever meeting him in the past. He goes on to mention a woman by the name Hyde McCourt. He claims that it is the woman that Dutch shot on the Blackwater Ferry. Strange Man proceeds to say, "If you do not remember her, why would you remember me? You have forgotten lots of important people. Then he asks John to help with his quote-unquote friend that is planning to be unfaithful to his wife. Then says, I know what you are, John. To me, it seems like he knows more about people than he lets on. Though it also feels like he's trying to give John advice at the same time. When you approach him again without hearing your footsteps, he knows it's you. When John asks him who he is, he once again ignores the question, but instead talks about having a son and wanting him to be just like John when he gets older. After a bit more small talk, John says, I will let the proper authorities judge my morality. The strange man replies, yes, they shall. That comment is followed by him predicting yet another major event that will occur, where a nun needs help while transporting something. I cannot remember all the details, it's been a while, alright? Then he shows up once again at John's ranch this time, and then they get into some talk about him being an accountant of some sorts. Then this time, instead of ignoring the question of his name, he tells John, I can't seem to remember. John says persistently, tell me your name, or I won't be responsible for my actions. The strange man replies, oh, but you will. You will be responsible. John says, damn you. The strange man replies with, many have. Now after this intense conversation, John pulls out his gun and proceeds to shoot 3 times, none of the bullets of which have even phased him. Then his gun jams, and the strange man disappears. So that is all the information summed up that we get in Red Dead Redemption 1. So let me go after some theories that were even going around back then. Major spoiler alert here, but people often speculate that those 3 shots are what killed Abigail, Uncle, and John. But when the gun jams, they also think that is what spared Jack's life. We also find out when he shoots those 3 times, none of the bullets even touch him. Seems like they phase right through him. So this tells me that the strange man is immortal. Now there is a theory that he is the devil, but I doubt that considering he asks you to do some good for good people. The nun he has you help, and the other man trying to keep him from cheating, this indicates to me that he is trying to do some good things. Now those are the theories that are backed up by just the events in Red Dead Redemption 1. So let's go over to the information we have on Red Dead Redemption 2, and then I'll come back to some of the other major theories. Let's start in the west with Armadillo. In Red Dead Redemption 2, it is taken over by a plague, and in Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare, it is taken over by zombies. But all the same, the store clerk lives through it all. Now the reason I bring him up is the fact that in Red Dead Redemption 2, when you walk in, the picture of a guy that looks like the strange man is on the wall. John says it feels familiar. When he asked him about it, he just said he liked the picture. But there's a lot of speculation going around that people believe the strange man has cursed Armadillo. That's why the plague got there, and that's why the zombies ended up getting there. I want to get that out of the way because I didn't really have a lot of notes for it. You can go look up other videos if you want an in-depth thing. I recommend Fizzy. I think his name is Fizzy. Whatever. You can go check him out. Now let's go over to the shack. If you don't know, you can find a shack in Lemoyne in the swamps that is next to the train tracks. Looks abandoned, but as you go inside, you find portraits, paintings, words, and graffiti all over the place. You see, depending on your honor, you go in there and the paintings will change, pictures will change, and there will be words all over the wall. But if you have good honor, you will see a deer. You have bad honor, you will see a coyote, like you do in those cutscenes that always show. And I don't remember the real requirements to get this, but I know when you go in, sometimes you will look at the mirror and you will see the strange man in the background, but the second you turn around to see if he's there, he will be gone. Just a little cool addition they added. I don't think it adds too much, but you do get to see what he looks like in-game besides the photos and everything, the difference between him there and in Red Dead Redemption, and the appearance also comes up later in another theory I have. There is a riddle of Jimmy Brooks carved into the desk. If you don't remember who Jimmy Brooks is, I don't blame you. He wasn't a very relevant character until this shack. Now, Jimmy Brooks was the guy where when you first arrive in Valentine, he says, I seen you in Blackwater and I know who you are and all that. And then Arthur proceeds to chase him until he falls off a cliff, grabs onto the ledge, and you have the option to either spare his life and pull him up or stomp on his fingers and kill the man. When you let him up, he says his name is Jimmy Brooks and he gives you a pin. Now you also find his name written on a rock with a lot of other names near Valentine. Don't know if that has any relevancy to this, but it seems like Jimmy Brooks is a pretty sketchy character. So the Jimmy Brooks riddle says, there's a man called Jimmy Brooks who's always running into crooks till one chased him down. He talked his way around, but Jimmy isn't as dumb as he looks. People assume that Jimmy Brooks' sole intention in that game was to be a morality test from the strange man, kind of like the events for the nun and the unfaithful one in Red Dead Redemption 1, which wouldn't make a lot of sense to me. There's also a few other references on the wall. One that references Coulter, and it says moving from the snow to the caves or something around those lines. The beginning of the game being in Coulter in the snow, and the end of the game being in the caves before Dutch betrays you. Spoiler alert. There is a map of Armadillo with the words next to it, and a reference to the first game with the words, I know you, which is the missions that you find the strange man in the first game. There is also graffiti on the wall that says the water is black with venom. Now to me, this is a direct statement, obviously, to Blackwater, with venom making it black, the water being black, Blackwater, and because the only relevancy it really had in Red Dead Redemption 2 would have to be the Blackwater Massacre. Or maybe it's talking about Micah or Dutch, somebody who betrays you in the end. Though this is all speculation on one thing written in the strange man's shack, I do think that some of this may come back one day. Anyway, now there are a lot of references in this shack, but I just want to give a little quick rundown of the information. Now let's get into the theories that surround the strange man, why don't we? Let's get into one of the theories that he's the Reaper, the Angel of Death. That's why he says he's an accountant when he's over there at John's ranch. And that's why when John shoots him 3 times, it kills 3 of them. Now here's my thing. When John says, damn you, and the strange man replies with, many have, who damns the Reaper? It's the same thing with people that believe he's Cain. Who damns Cain? Let's get into the more popular one that I'm more lenient to. I don't believe it 100%, but the theory is that the strange man is God. Some things that back this up is the strange man knows John even when they've never met. The missions that he have you do are helping people like nuns and unfaithful. When John said, GDU, he replies with, many have. He also comes out of nowhere in the shack or at the ranch. He just appears. The things written around his shack is studying or predicting the actions of Arthur and John, mainly for morality test. Let's get into one that is another famous one, but I think it's almost been disproven, that the strange man is Trelawney. There's a little bit to back this up, but I'll go over why I believe this theory fails. So here's the similarities. They dress the same, they look the same, they have the same mustache, and people bring up the voice as a counter argument and say that Javier doesn't sound the same in both Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2, which is true. So I will let that one stay. And the mysterious nature of both characters' identity, as in, when you find Trelawney having a family in St. Denis that you never knew about, you kind of realize that you don't know as much about this guy as you thought you did. The strange man also brings up having a son, and like I said, when you can find Trelawney with his family, you can hear his son in the background. I did not believe this to be the case, and here is my counter argument. If it was Trelawney in Red Dead Redemption 2, even if he didn't look the same as the strange man in Red Dead Redemption 1, you cannot defeat the purpose. When you look in the mirror at the strange man's shack, you see the strange man, and it does not look like Trelawney. I'm sorry, it doesn't. It looks like the strange man from the first game. That is the main counter argument, and that's why I believe it is not true. So sorry for all the people that believe it, but I'm gonna have to check out on this one. So let's go into the next one. A smaller theory I ran across recently, I quite like, but I do not believe it to be the case. People believe that this is Gavin. I'm sure y'all know who I'm talking about. Y'all have all heard it. Be walking through a town, and you hear, Gavin, have you seen my friend Gavin? And you talk to him, but here's the thing, you can never find Gavin. Where is Gavin? Is Gavin real? That's a mystery for another day. People believe that the strange man is Gavin, And I can see it, considering that the mustache and everything kind of looks like the guy he's looking for. Again, not much to back this up. I just like the theory. Now, there's a lot of other theories that I've probably missed. A lot of them rotate around the Bible, and I don't believe that I'm educated enough to really dive deep into who it could have been. And it may not even be related to the Bible. Who knows? I will leave this case definitely open. You let me know who you believe he is in the comments. Let's get into the next one, which is one of my favorite mysteries, because I made it myself. Anyhow. This mystery I like to call the Arthur's Hat Theory, which I made myself. Now, let's do a little background on the hat. It belonged to Lyle Morgan, Arthur's dad. You can see this when you look at the photo near Arthur's bed at camp. And after he passed away, I'm assuming, the hat is now worn by Arthur. Arthur goes through the whole game. They try to make you wear the hat to the very end. He finally passes it on to John shortly before he dies. Then you can proceed to wear it as John through the epilogue, but it is not in Red Dead Redemption 1. Now hear me out. Ignore that Red Dead Redemption 2 is a video game for a bit. Think of it as a movie or a story or something. Now, Red Dead Redemption 2, Arthur Morgan goes through a lot. He gets shot a lot. But let's go into the cutscene thing, because I know it is a game. Now, you go into the cutscenes, and he gets shot in the chest when running away from the O'Driscolls. He gets shot pretty close to the heart, if not the heart. Then, the O'Driscoll, they have him hanging in the basement from his ankles. And he escapes, he makes it back to camp. He continues going, and he has tuberculosis. He fights, he kills, he doesn't die, he makes it through a lot. Nobody can deny that. Arthur has just been through some stuff, man. Then after going through all that, at the very end, on top of the mountain, he finally decides to let it go. Hands it over to John. Shortly after that, he passes. Now here's the theory. What if Arthur's hat is the whole reason he lived through all that? What if because it belonged to him, it kept him alive? What if Lyle Morgan was wearing that hat through his whole outlaw adventure? And then he passed on the hat to Arthur and then died. Then Arthur passed it on to John and died. And John, he wasn't wearing the hat when he died in the first game. I know it wasn't in the first game, but I'm just using that as an example. Now, again, short theory. Just wanted to say, I don't fully believe it. But it's still interesting to think about. What if that is it? Arthur's hat, the key to immortality. Or a curse. Depending on how you look at it. So my friends, that is the top 3 best Red Dead Redemption mysteries in my opinion. If you have any that I should include in this list, let me know. Now, there were some more I wanted to talk about, but I don't have the most knowledge on them. So, yeah. Hope you enjoy, and if you want more like this, just let me know. Later.